Hi everybody, this is Vicky Charles and you're listening to the vickycharles.com podcast. And this week, episode number 40, is my 10 blogging no-nos. So let's get on with it. Welcome to episode 40 of the vickycharles.com podcast. You can find the show notes for this and all previous podcasts at vickycharles.com/podcast. And this week's podcast is my 10 blogging no-nos. Now let me just preface this by saying I love blogging, I love bloggers, I love to read blogs, I love to find new blogs. This is not me kind of bashing other bloggers or anything like that. That's completely not what I'm about. This is just 10 things that kind of grind my gears, as they say. So the first thing, my first blogging no-no, is when you make it difficult for me to comment on your blog. If you've written a great blog, I want to tell you about it. I want to leave a comment, I want to add to the conversation, I want to ask you questions about what you were doing. And if I can't do that, then I'm not going to even, if you're going to make it difficult, if I have to jump through hoops and dance in a circle and, say the special password or use captcha, then I'm probably not going to bother. If I have to sign in and become a member of your site just to be able to comment, you're asking people to take a big leap with that. And if it's the first time they've been to your site, they might not want to become a member of your site in order to comment. Things like the captcha thing, where you have to, tick every box that is a picture of food or something like that. I don't have time for that. I'm sitting there peering at my screen thinking, is that food or an animal? I can't tell. But I think a lot of people don't have time for that, and I can't be bothered. And a lot of the time I just don't bother. I just won't bother to comment if it's like that. What you have to think is that if you're making it harder for spam bots and everything to comment on your blog post, you're also making it harder for real people, genuine commenters, to comment on your blog post. The worst thing for me is when you've gone through all of that rigmarole of the captcha thing, proved you're human, and then it says your comment will be visible after moderation, and you just think, what, you're going to make me do all that and you're going to modify my comment? Like, do one or the other, really, because both just makes it sound like I really don't want you to comment on my blog, and if you must, then I'm going to check what you say before I let it post you. I don't think that's very nice. So one or the other, either kind of capture or something like tick the box to say you're not a spammer, or modify comments, or moderate comments, sorry, one or the other. My second blogging no-no is hiding your social media links. I've seen so many people do this. Like, you see a blog post and you think, oh, I wonder who this person is on Twitter. They seem really cool. I'd love to follow them. I'm going to have to take a blind guess because I've got no idea, and there is no link. No link to your Facebook page, no link to your Pinterest. I can't follow you anywhere, so I have to come and manually add you to my blog lovin, or hope I remember to come and see your blog. Make it really easy for me to follow you on Twitter so that I can see when your next link is, I can see when you next post, I can see what your next update is. Just make it as easy as possible for people to follow you so that more people will follow you that way. My third blogging no-no is linky etiquette. Now, I run 3 linkies, and they don't really have much in the way of rules because I'm quite lazy about enforcing them. I do occasionally go through and delete the odd random post that's been put in clearly in the wrong place, or just wrongly. But on the whole, I can't be bothered, and I also can't be bothered to follow other people's rules when the rules take up half of their post. Things like, oh, this week's linky has 6 hosts, and you need to go and follow each one on each of their social media accounts. And you must do this, this, and this, and you must all of this, recite this Spanish limerick backwards, and it's just I don't have time for that. I want to join your linky. I want to comment on 3 or 4 posts around mine. I'll happily follow you on social media, and if you've got a co-host, I'll happily follow them. But I don't like it when you make it like a stipulation that I absolutely must follow you on Twitter, on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram, on here, there, and everywhere before I'm allowed to join in your linky. I can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered. That might just be me. Perhaps it is just me. Let me know. My fourth blogging no-no is not proofreading your post. I see this. To be fair, I don't know that you haven't proofread it. But if you've proofread it and you've put it out like that, you need to start getting somebody else to proofread your posts, basically. Whenever I do this, I get jumped on. Whenever I say something like this, I get jumped on by people saying, but what if they're dyslexic? What if you've never learned? Blah, blah. That's fine. If you've never learned correct spelling and grammar, then go and learn it now. You can do that. You can learn it. I learned a lot of the spelling and grammar that I know now just from reading books, because you see it in a book and you think, oh, that's how you use that. Or ask somebody else to help you. But when you're kind of publishing a post, you're not giving it its full worth by kind of, because people like me who are very pedantic will read it and go, that comma in the wrong place, why is that apostrophe there, well, you've not used that colon correctly. I do sit there and I do kind of critique things, and it makes my teeth itch when I keep seeing these things and I think, oh my god, why would you put something out like that? I've seen a lot recently actually where people have been to like events and they've written a post that's like, things I learned from this event, and then they've done kind of a bullet list, which is absolutely fine. Do a bullet list, that's easy to read, brilliant. But it's like they've copied down lecture notes. Like, rather than saying, and then the person told us that we should do this, it says, do this. Like, really kind of basic, sparse language. And I guess if that's what your blog is for, and that's how you want to do it, that's fine. But when your blog is like loads of kind of long and beautifully written posts, and then you've got one post that is bullet lists, and each a bullet pointed list, and each point is kind of like a maximum of 5 words, it kind of looks a bit funny, and it just doesn't sit well with me. I think it feels like you haven't made the effort to tell me what you learned from that. You know, like you can't. I'm just going to tell you that I learned it, but I'm not going to tell you it in any detail. Like, I don't respect you enough to put it into a sentence. My number 5 blogging bugbear, or blogging no-no, sorry, is long rambling posts with no substance. I see so many posts that are like, you're like 4 or 5 paragraphs in before you've got to your point, and sometimes you don't even have a point, and it's like, who were you aiming this at? Who did you think was going to sit down and read this? When we blog, we have to bear in mind, or I certainly think we need to bear in mind the fact that these days people have got really short attention spans. And aside from that, we're reading our blogs while our children are running around behind us, or the TV's on, the radio's on, somebody's just knocked at the door, somebody's trying to talk to me, the phone's ringing, I'm on hold to the bank, whatever. I'm trying to read your blog post. You need to make it easy for me so that every time my attention is drawn away to something else, I look back and I can see where I was. And if your blog post is one huge block of text, I can't see where I was, and you know, I would have to be really, really interested in what you have to say to try desperately to find my place in your post again. Like, split the post up a bit, split it into paragraphs, put pictures, make it really easy for people to figure out where they are, and also make it interesting. Think about who you think is going to read it, and if you kind of read it and think I don't think anybody's going to read that, or like, I can't imagine anybody being interested in that, for goodness sake, don't hit publish. If you can't imagine anybody being interested in what you've just written, just delete it. My number 6 blogging no-no is reviews that don't review. Let me just say to start with, I've got nothing against bloggers getting sent free stuff. We work really hard on our blogs, and if some company wants to send you a free thing or a toy for your child or whatever, then that's brilliant. Absolutely, put your hand out and take it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't accept free things. I'm saying that if you're reviewing something, you need to review it, and you need to say, this is what I think of it, this is what worked well for me, this is what didn't work well for me, or I didn't like it but I can see what the uses would be, something like that. The worst thing I see is I review books, so I read a lot of other book reviews as well, and sometimes you see people write reviews that are basically, they copy out the blurb from the back of the book and then put maybe half a paragraph underneath of it of, yeah, I read this book quite quickly, I quite liked it. And you just think, if I can read the blurb on Amazon, I can go in the bookshop and read the blurb on the back of the book. Don't put that in a blog post. Why would you just regurgitate something off the back of a book into a blog post? Like, I want to know what you think. So the blurb on the back of the book might say, Jenny went to the shop and bought a can of beans. But when you were reading it, you might feel like the story is actually that Jenny is having a bad day and going for a walk, and she might go in the shop or something. You know, like, I want your interpretation of what the story's about. That's why I'm reading your review and not the back of the book. My number 7 blogging no-no is pop-ups. Now, you tread a fine line with pop-ups. The thing about pop-up boxes is that everybody knows they are the best way to get people to join your email list. A lot of people find them irritating, but they're just the best converter, and everybody knows that, so you're just kind of their necessary evil in that way. What I don't like is if I've been on your blog for 5 seconds and it pops up and I've not even had a chance to read what you had to say. If I've got no experience of what your writing is like, why would I join your email list? And what I really, really don't like is when that pop-up box comes up and says, join my mailing list, and then I can't get rid of it. unless I add my email address, it won't come away from the page, and I can't read the blog post that I click the link to. That's happened to me a few times, and whenever it does, I close the window and then I go and unfollow the person on Twitter, because I know that anytime I click their link in the future, I'm going to have the same problem, and I can't be bothered with it. My number 8 blogging no-no is complicated explanations. I think it was Einstein that said, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough, or something like that. You kind of see people use long words, and you kind of think, was there a shorter word that you could have put there? Like, if you're explaining something to me, I want you to explain it to me as if I'm 7, because you can explain it really, really simply, and I might understand most of it already. I might already know some of it. Like teaching your grandmother to suck eggs is the saying, isn't it? Or you can kind of explain it in a really highbrow way where I don't really understand what you're talking about, and it goes over my head, and I might be quite impressed with the fact that you clearly know what you're talking about, but you're not going to help me to solve whatever problem it is that you were explaining about. And that's the point there, that you need to, if you're explaining something, if you're going to bother explaining, then you need to make it so that it's really, really clear. My number 9 blogging no-no is something I see all the time. It's referring to something without linking to it. So what I mean here is, if you did a series of blog posts about your dog and his dandruff problem, and today you've written a blog post about how your dog was really enjoying going out in the sunshine and blah blah blah, and you go, yeah, he's had dandruff really badly recently, as I wrote about previously, and if you don't link to any post about your dog having dandruff, I can't go back and read about that and see what the problem was. And my dog might have dandruff, and I might be like, oh, I wonder what she did with her dog and his dandruff problem. I'll never know, because you haven't linked to it, and I don't have time to why would I search your blog when I can search Google, to find that answer? There are 2 reasons for this. Selfishly, from your perspective as a blog writer, you want your blog to be what Darren Rouse calls sticky. You want it to be that people come to your blog and then they click another link inside your blog and another one, and they kind of go off on some kind of magical mystery tour around your blog of seeing all this stuff inside your blog, and they really love it and they want to come back. And that lowers your bounce rate as well if people are in your blog for longer. But from my point of view as a reader, if you're referring to stuff and assuming that I know about it, it makes it feel a bit like you've got your readers and your tribe of people, and I'm not one of them, and I'm not welcome to join, because you kind of assume when somebody does that they mention something without linking to it, that, well, all of the other people reading this blog post today, they must know all about that, and I'm not one of them, and there's not a way for me to be one of them, so I'm not welcome on this blog, and it's a bit aloof for me, and I'm not part of this group. And people will just leave and they won't come back. You need to make it really kind of easy. Again, it's all about making things easy for your reader, I think. My number 10 blogging no-no is trying too hard. Now this is it's a difficult one to put my finger on. I was trying to figure out how to explain what I mean. It's kind of when you read something and you can tell they're being achingly cool, or they're trying to be like really funny, but they're really trying to be funny, and you can almost see them kind of over their keyboards sweating over the right words to say. Like, it doesn't come across as genuine. It comes across as when you watch Mock the Week and you can tell they've been sitting there writing their jokes. Like, it comes across like that. Like, they're not spontaneously coming up with something hilarious. They've been sitting there writing those jokes, and you can tell the difference. I think you can tell the difference on comedy shows, and you can tell the difference on people's blog posts and on their vlogs as well. I think it's a big thing. It kind of turns me off, because I don't feel like you're talking to me. I feel like you're being funny at me, and not just with being funny, but also with being very clever. Like, there are some people who do just genuinely use really long, kind of obscure words when they're talking. Like, if you think of Stephen Fry comes up with these words, and you don't think he's pretentious, you think he's just Stephen Fry. That's just who he is. And there probably are bloggers out there who do just genuinely just tend to use long words a lot of the time. But there are also a lot of bloggers out there, and you can almost see them sitting there with a thesaurus or on thesaurus.com trying to find the most obscure, long, multi-syllable word they can think of to get their point across. And that really turns me off, because it feels like you're not being genuine, and it feels